What's good, good people? Welcome to hashtag my Bmore. What's the 410? Where we stand in the gap of the news you can use and the positive stories our spirits need. I'm your host, Dion Joyner Weems. It's like a tribe called Quest. You got to say it all together. And though I wear many hats, they all sit on top of the same mission to uplift, amplify, and empower Baltimore's truth tellers and change makers. Whether that's through hashtag my Be More project, my book That Part What Some Know But Won't Tell You About Motherhood, or as the CEO of Audacity Group, a global marketing shop, we tell bold stories. And in 2022, we did a listening session and we found out what you and I already know. People trust people more than they do a system. That's why we center the voices of the people on the ground doing the work. Like our guest today, Nneka N'namdi, founder and director of Fight, Blight, Bmore. Let's bring her up.
Hey, everybody.
Nneka, I got my notes, I got my pen, I got my paper, and everyone else, get your pen and your paper because we're going to be taking notes. This is school today. Nneka, before we jump in, I want to do it's a bio, but it's also like verbal flowers. So if you don't mind, I've got something to say. Nneka N'namdi is a daughter of Upton, where Blight once threatened to swallow lineage, but she chose to build tools that restore it. As founder of Fight Blight Bmore, she transforms data into power, turning neighborhood residency into neighborhood stewardship. Through the Stop Oppressive Seizures, SOS Fund, she disrupts systems that steal Black homes and reimagines land not as property, but as promise. Rooted in African traditions, trauma-informed care, and joy as resistance, she doesn't just fight for Baltimore. She protects the sacred right to stay, to return, and to belong. That's Nneka N'namdi. How was that?
That was good. That was real good.
All right, so Nneka, before we jump into the conversation, we like to give people like a taste of the personality behind the profession. So we call this They Ate, right? So we're going to ask you 8 rapid fire questions. Don't overthink it. All right, just give me your answer. Okay, are you ready? Take a deep breath.
I'm ready.
All right, crab cake, fried or broiled?
Fried.
Nickname your parents used to call you?
Oh. Oh. That's a good one. I didn't really have one.
You, your friends don't have a nickname for you?
Nope, not really.
Okay. I love the responses. Name one song on your get pumped, amped, fired up playlist when you need to get what you listening to.
Oh, anything DMX.
Hey, okay. Favorite ancestor to call on when life gets heavy.
Oh, Harriet Tubman.
Amen. Tell me your superpower in one word.
Thinking.
All right. You can only have one of these, okay?
Okay.
Chef, maid, driver. Pick one. Chef, maid, driver.
Chef.
Chef. Name one book that changed your life.
One book.
I know that you. So here's the thing. This woman has a library, a plethora. So I understand that this is very difficult.
For Colored Girls.
Thank you very much, man. Very much. Last question. If you had 25 hours in a day, what would you do with that extra hour?
Sleep.
Sleep. Okay. Thank you so much. She ate. She ate. Okay. Let's get into this because I wasn't being facetious. I'm serious about taking notes because the idea is for us to be able to speak and think as you do. So I want to jump right in. Baltimore recently introduced new housing bills, right? They're focused on receivership, vacant property management, and there's a lot of fine print. what should residents know before they celebrate, sign up, push back? What do we need to know?
I think the first thing is for everybody to take the time to read the bills. Um, Even if it's to, skim, even if once you walk away from it, you don't completely understand what's in them, but to read them for themselves before making any kind of, drawing any kind of opinion. And then once you've read them, to to check in with folks who are doing the work on a regular basis to see what their breakdown or analysis of the bills are, and then form, those trusted parties, those parties who are aligned with your own virtues and values, and then form an opinion of them. And after which, then, start to organize with those groups, with folks that are in alignment with, the way that you see the bills,
Mm,
and then start talking to, of course, start talking to your council persons, the council president's office, and the mayor.
got it. Well, Nneka, can I ask you for, let's say for my cousin who she's got a 9 to 5, she has children. It's not that she doesn't care, it's just she has a lot going on.
Mhm.
Who are some of the people or sources that we should look to if we're not in like those intimate circles?
Right. I think your community association is probably the closest, or the first place to start. Now, that doesn't mean you will not find things there or folks there with opinions that don't mesh. But I think the first place to go, the closest place, uh, to you, that is going to give you information that is most keyed into how these bills will affect you and your everyday living, is your closest community association. Um, and then you can go and look at, whether a group like Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, or whether No Boundaries Coalition, or whether Park Heights Renaissance, or these umbrella, organizations, whether Neighborhood Housing Services, or Coppin Heights CDC, whether they have an opinion and what their opinion is. Always check out, like the Beat and the Banner, and see even the Sun, and see what stories on the Afro, see what people have written
Yeah.
about the housing package, and see what folks are saying, what individuals or organizations are quoted and what they're saying about the package. Check out what Build, because they do a lot of housing related organizing, mostly in East Baltimore, but now, in the West as well. So checking out those umbrella organizations and seeing what their view of the housing package is. But starting with your, talk to your neighbor, talk to, the old heads in your community, because those are the ones that are sitting up in the community association meetings, and they can tell you in the general sense most of the time what the bill is about, um, which is the important part. And then you can judge for yourself, like, how you think it might impact you. Um, so I think that's the place for working folks, to start. Also check if you in a union, check and see what the union might got to say about it.
Mm,
Um, you know, there are a number of different organizations connected to unions that could help folks kind of navigate these, not just this housing package, but all the all the legislation as it is working through. And that way you can find your preferred group for getting information.
you just named organizations and resources. I want to go back to yours. In your 2023 report, Anatomy of Baltimore's Blight, Analysis of Policy and Practice, Creating a Pathway for Community Progress, you break a lot of this all the way down. Can you make it plain for us? How do communities move from not just surviving blight, but like owning the tools to dismantle it, politically, literally? Since you have this resource, how lead us?
So I think one of the things to do, for each of us, I just finished reading a book by Brea Brown called Rooted. And it makes a case, or furthers the case for land-based reparations, housing-based reparations. And I think the central theme of the book is the author telling the story of her family land in North Carolina and how it was acquired, what it has taken to maintain it, how they have, where they had wins and losses. And so I think one of the key things for us to start doing is start with our own individual family histories.
Yeah.
I say it every time, all the time. We would be amazed at what was accomplished already and what lessons and legacies are left there. And sometimes those things are not passed on because of the very traumatic experiences of some of our elders and some of our folks, quite frankly, who I call olders, because they have aged, but they have not, their age has come without wisdom. But that does not mean we shouldn't talk to them, and that doesn't mean we cannot learn from them. So I think the first thing to do is to really start with our own family stories, particularly around housing and land and food sovereignty, all of these things. Then I think the other piece is we have to read, we have to study, and I know time is of the essence. But there's also documentaries. Silver Dollar Road is one that folks can check out. All of these, any documentaries that are talking about, the history of advocacy, the history of resistance in the march toward freedom and liberation, I think are important for us to engage in, watching. But we're sitting right here in Baltimore. So you have the Great Blacks in Wax, like, and all of the the information that is there.
Yeah.
The Reginald Lewis is here.
Yeah.
We have not ready access, but we have so many, Dr. Wimbush, and you have Dr. K's show on WEAA that you can engage in. Dr. Brown is writing books and lecturing and giving workshops. So like a lot of the information is available to us in different mediums. There are a number of ways to get engaged, but I think again, starting with our own family history and then moving to the local history, understanding what happened wherever you live, whether it's in Baltimore City or in Baltimore County, because there's a rich legacy of African American ownership in Baltimore County, whether it's East Towson, right, right up there where the mall is, right, or Turner Station, and all of these places. So it's really important. Even in Howard County, in Ellicott City, there's historic. There's a historic Black church school right off of Main Street in Ellicott City. So moving, from your individual family history to the local history, to the regional, and then to the national and international history of land ownership, of land stewardship, is really important. And I think that's where it starts. And for folks in Baltimore, taking a cursory read at the Anatomy of Baltimore's Blight is a good place to start. There's also on our website, there are several study guides that have a list of different, data, different documentaries, different articles you can read. You don't have to, read whole books. There are articles out there, there are infographics out there, but just getting engaged, taking a look at what's on Al Jazeera. You don't have to stay with American media, right? There are other media sources that you can take a look at. I mean, take a gander at Dr. Gates's African American Lives, and how there are a lot of stories that might not be your individual family stories, but that are applicable to what we are experiencing right now.
So it's crazy, as you were speaking, I'm now picturing Aisha Sneed. Am I saying it right? So when my father passed about 4 months ago, and Aisha was able to help in just starting the conversation of the whole estate planning, because my mother lives in Stricker and Saratoga, then she has a home in Gwen Oak. And with my father not being here, and she wants to now, ensure that when her time comes, that things don't fall through the crack. And I remember sitting across the table like, what the, a little overwhelmed. But to know that there were actually services out there to help people before the shit hits the fan,
right,
to be prepared for that. Can you speak more on that?
Sure. So one thing I want us to really come to terms with, and it is is sure as you was born, you gonna die, right?
Yeah.
And I want us to be focused not just on living well, being born well, making sure that our subsequent generations come here well. We also want to focus on dying well too.
Mm.
And in dying well, that is, not just about making sure that folks, when they reach the end stage of their life and are in the veil of transitioning, however you see it, that they are getting the care that they need, that they are not being victims of all the kind of predatory
Mm.
scams that are happening out
It's
here.
real.
It is very real, but that they also are leaving their subsequent generations, their descendants, in a way that is not confusing, that is not destabilizing, that actually is generative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that, it is said in many African traditions that you don't die until people stop calling your name.
Damn.
But the things that you do and plan for today are the things that will ensure
Yeah.
that people continue to call. People
Mm.
continue to call your name. And so making sure that you have, we call it a family continuity plan, because when you say estate plan, a lot of us turn off because we
Okay.
think rich, that's for rich people.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, no.
Mm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
What you're really doing is ensuring the continuation of your family. And so you can, reach out to Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Services, because for most folks, if you're at like, I think it's 60% of AMI or below, you
Mm-hmm.
can get an estate plan, you can get a will, you can get an advance directive, you can get a power of attorney, you can get a life estate deed, you can get all the documents. You could even, if you have a special needs child, you could get a special needs trust set up. All of
Mm.
those types of the legal pieces necessary to ensure the transition of your assets from
Yeah.
one generation to the next without the interference of the state, without the taxes and all of that other stuff. There are services like MVLS that can help you do that, or senior legal services for those folks who are over 60 and maybe over income, for the services of MVLS. And then there are also private attorneys that you can go to, and they will work with you, maybe put you on a payment plan. You can check out civil justice to get those things done. But even more than that, one of the things we have to reckon with, we're going to die. And it's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to die. Uh, but there are ways to make that transition, that experience, less traumatic for everybody,
Everyone.
for everybody involved. And that also is very tied to the story of land and housing, because in not preparing and not having conversations and hiding and
Mm.
keeping secrets and
Mm.
shaming and all of these other things, the very thing that our folks have worked very hard to maintain, and the things that we have worked very hard to get and maintain,
Yep.
often get lost
Yep.
because we're not speaking to cousin such and so. And so, because you mad about something that happened in 1974,
Real
okay,
talk, please. Yes.
uh, the tax lien purchaser is going to end up with that house, or your elders do not feel comfortable enough to come to you and say they need $1,000 to pay the property taxes, so they go get a reverse mortgage, right? And don't tell anybody.
Right.
Or they take a loan against their life insurance to bail this one or that one out of jail or get them a lawyer, because we dealing with a carceral system that is utterly and completely ridiculous. We have to have conversations about all of these things. We have to stop being afraid to discuss them, and we have to divorce. We have to recognize that many of these things have nothing to do with our character. Filing bankruptcy don't have a damn thing to do with whether you're a good person or not.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't. It is a tool by which you can reorganize
Yep.
or eliminate debt that you probably shouldn't have been in the first place. That probably cost you too much money because of racism in the first place, right?
Yes.
Access to capital. We have to start delineating between what is actually ethical according to our worldview, and how we navigate the environment that we're in, and don't violate our own ethics, but leverage the legal mechanisms in order to make things better for us, in order to make things better for ourselves, until we can build anew, until we can, till we can achieve sovereignty, until we can get to liberation.
I really appreciate you really pulling the curtain back on the pride, the shame, the non-communication, how within our families, we're not taking advantage of systems that others have leveraged for their benefit. And it's not until, like I said, until the person is gone, that now that you're scrambling. But to your point, if we can live well and die well, that's a beautiful and peaceful transition. I want to switch gears a little bit, because I'm curious when you hear public safety and public health. All right, so hold on. When you hear public safety and you hear public health, what do you believe communities actually need more of, or less, or less of?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start by saying this. We had civilizations and societies for thousands of years without police. Healthy, thriving, safe societies and civilizations for thousands of years without police. And so it is, to me, just nonsensical that we cannot divorce ourselves from the idea that we need police, or that we need more police in order to create public safety. If, in fact, public safety is the goal, then the thing that we need to focus on, in my estimation, in order to achieve the safest communities possible, is to make sure that people have food, clothes, shelter, right? That people have the things that are necessary for a basic level of
hierarchy of needs.
Of human need. And then we can, then the other things will, by and large, there's always going to be somebody who want to step out of the box,
pop off,
or an infraction that can happen. But there are ways in which to handle that. And that's not to say that, tomorrow the police disappear. That's not the point that I'm trying to make here. But the point is that public health, which you brought up, is the key to ensuring public safety. That is the key. And public health is making sure that people are living in houses that are free of lead. Public health is making sure that it is not 10 degrees higher in certain neighborhoods because they have no tree canopy. Public health is making sure that people are not living in what they call sacrifice zones, where the environment has been degraded so much that the cancer rates are 3 and 4 times. These are elements of public health that are necessary to ensure public safety. Because be sure, if people are hot, if people are hungry, and I'm not talking about you missed a meal, I'm talking about generations of chronically malnourished and dehydration in populations. That is not going to, that isn't safe because you're not even safe inside your own body. Right? So we have to focus on health and wellness, because the healthier people are, the more wellness they are experiencing, the less likely people are to do things that offend community. I'm not even going to say break the law, because we have to also get real clear.
Yes.
The law is the lowest form if it is ethical, because sometimes the law isn't ethical. Right. And so we really have to get focused on what is it that we want in our community. Do we really want, a police on every corner? Or do we want a community where people have what they need, and so nobody is robbing, or nobody is feeling the need to abuse drugs? I won't even say use them. I'll say abuse them. No one is, and that we have systems of accountability for handling those infractions. Because frankly, if you steal $1,000 from me, I want my $1,000 back. I don't necessarily want you to go to jail.
I hear you.
How does you going to jail get my $1,000? Doesn't repair the harm done to me. Now there are infractions for which I think people should be segregated from society. But the vast majority of the things that people are sent to jail for or arrested for are not things that, in my opinion, they should be segregated from society. They're things for which they should be required to repair the harm that they did, be accountable to what they did, but not necessarily be segregated from society. But I think at the end of the day, if we focus on public health, if we focus on feeding the people, and we focus on making sure that people have an environment that is healthy, that is physically safe, like that we don't have houses falling down all around, that we have, we don't have grass and weeds that's going, cause people to have respiratory distress and all of those things, that we get much. That is the core of public safety, not policing.
Why does that sound so simple to me?
Because it is. Because it's common sense. But as our elders say, common sense ain't common. I mean, and it is not capitalism.
Gotcha.
Because you're not necessarily going to make money. And of course, yes, you can make money doing good, and you can make money like in those spaces. But the runaway growth and development of things cannot happen in a system, or won't happen in a system, where you are prioritizing the planet, the health of the planet that sustains us, all of our mother, right? And the people, the plant life and the flora and fauna on it. You're gonna have there's gonna be a different calculation about return on investment, if there is one at all, when the center of what you're doing is health. And it is very simple.
It comes back to the intention, though. What were your intentions in this? All right. Let me ask you this. The data shows most homicides happen near vacant properties, right? Even as Baltimore's homicide rates are declining, how do we ensure public safety, public health strategies address the root causes of like the disinvestment, the displacement? where we're not just talking about it as a symptom, because it's easy to just get lost in the numbers. How do we?
Well, I think the first focus is we have to determine what our actual priorities are. So I've heard it said multiple times that your budget, and by the budget I'm talking about in this particular instance is the city's budget. The budget isn't just about where you spend your money, it's about what your values are. And so when we look at the city budget, if our budget is focused on building buildings,
Mhm.
if we're spending the vast majority of our money on capital expenditures, that
Mhm.
tells us that we value those structures. If
Mhm.
our budget though focuses, if we spending the most money on our education, then
Mm.
that would say we value our children and we value the future. If we spent, the vast majority of our money on, let's say, the health department, then that would say we value, making sure that people's physical and mental wellness are top tier. And
Yeah.
so we have to look at where we're spending our money, and where we're spending our time, because that is an indication of what we actually value. And yes, homicides are being reported as being down, and there's some dialogue in community about whether those numbers are accurate. Um, but let's just say
Oh,
they are.
okay. Okay.
I would say that is a reflection of multiple grassroots efforts at the community level to really address the imminent danger of homicide like that. And we're going to interject right at the point where things are going to go left, like
Yeah.
violence interruption, but
Yes.
also getting at some of the root causes, making sure that people have stable housing or
Mhm.
access to employment, whether that was the mayor's guaranteed income pilot, whether that is, expansion of peer recovery services that was like pushed by the Trauma Informed Care Task Force. So across the spectrum, there has been a focus on uh, reducing the number of homicides. But at the same time, Baltimore has had three times the number of homicides every year, three times the number of homicides and overdoses every year for at least the past 5 years. And there hasn't seemed to have been a bunch of conversation about that.
Okay.
And I think the reason is because if the focus was on bringing down the homicides, you could still focus on police and policing. And you
Yes.
could still justify the police, increases in the police budget,
Yeah.
modernizing the police force,
Oh, like
even
okay. Mm-hmm.
even low key militarizing the police force without people really squawking under the guise of, oh, we are focused on lowering the number of homicides. And of
Right.
course, when the public hears that, when the people residents hear that, they like, yes, this is
Yes.
what
Right.
this is what we want, right? Where if you're having a conversation about the number of overdose deaths,
Yeah. Okay. I see where you're
really
going.
you really have to take a different approach.
Approach
That's not going to be about policing, because we all know no one today
is
is
looking to
saying
police.
lock up. Yeah, no
Mhm.
one's saying lock up people
Mhm.
with substance
Mhm.
abuse disorder. That's not the now. Some of it has to do with the color of the people, right, who are now the face of the opioid crisis
Mhm.
versus the color of the people who were the face of the crack
Crack.
epidemic and this, that,
Yep.
and the third, or marijuana.
Yeah.
And so there's been a shift in
Mm.
how we are going to address people with substance abuse disorder. And if what you want to continue to focus on is funding police and policing, then you focus on something like homicide, because
Right.
of course we all want that to go down, and funding and continuing to work with police on something like homicide makes sense. Where if you are going to focus on a deeper root cause that ends up oftentimes
Yep.
causing being involved in homicide, and you focus on substance abuse disorder or overdose, you have to deal with much more in-depth health issues and community issues and family issues. And that is much farther away from being able to fund policing than focusing on homicides. And so
it's back to public health. It's
public health.
Yeah.
It's public health. And I think that if the next step is to really focus for Baltimore to really, there's a city with, I think, the oldest health department in the United States, should be at the vanguard of addressing an opioid crisis. Now, we also understand that Baltimore's health department is something like 90% federally grant funded, and most of those funds were federal grants. So we understand that the landscape has now shifted under our feet. But also, Hopkins got an endowment. University of Maryland got medical center. These institutions have large endowments. Baby, it's time for you all to start. You all achieve these endowments in part by your access to Black Baltimore for research and all kinds of other stuff. It's time for you to take a piece of those endowments. Y'all need to be going in y'all room, y'all back rooms, wherever y'all make these decisions about what's going to happen with the money, and start saying, okay, well, the Fed is not going to fund it. This is our corporate or institutional
public partnerships, which we can do.
This is our institutional responsibility. This is what we owe. When people start talking about reparations, the folks don't got to wait on the government to do reparations. Institutions and organizations don't have to wait on the government. They can take the lead. They didn't wait on the government to take from Black people, to exploit Black people, to extract from Black communities. So don't wait on the government. Don't wait on the government now. Go in your decision-making rooms and determine that, okay, this is a way in which we can start to repair the harm that's done. So we're going to decide institutionally, we're going to call up our buddies over here and over there at this foundation, at that family office, this person who got a lot of money, and we're going to put together some money, and we're going to go ahead and fund the health department to not only continue to do the work that they were doing, but to expand the services so that we can bring down, just like we brought down the homicide, just like grassroots folk in cooperation with the police, in the cooperation with the administration and others, brought down the homicide rate. We're going to focus on bringing down the overdose rate to something. I mean, I don't know what a reasonable overdose rate would be, but that we definitely are diminishing the severely, significantly the overdose rate by focusing on public health.
Can I tell you why I'm happy in speaking to you is because for anyone that's listening, it's an aha moment. Just to be able to offer up a different form to shift the conversation. But if you don't know, then you can't offer that. So to know that you don't have to wait for the federal government, but there are ways, and we have seen how we have worked private and publicly to address issues without, begging anyone else. So I'm curious if we could take that same thinking when you think about like the Job Corps closing, the difficulty of, finding youth work placements, like what is it that can be done there to just make sure, how do we see land justice opening doors for real job creation?
So for those who may not know me well, or this is their first introduction to me, I am a practitioner of Ifa. I'm an initiated person in the Yoruba spiritual practice. I'm in a Yoruba spiritual practice. And one of the things every year, like the first week of June, is our actual New Year. And there are readings done in Nigeria that are shared with, Ifa devotees and practitioners and priests all over the world. And one of the things that came up in this year's reading was that we needed to get back to agricultural practice and production. We needed to reconnect with the land, and that our economic development was tied to that.
That
is what came up. And so it was interesting because I was right in the middle of reading the book Rooted, which I mentioned earlier, and having conversations and being in community with folks like Dr. Huber Brown from the Black Church Food Security Network, and Eric Jackson at Black Yale, and Denzel Mitchell at the Farm Alliance, and understanding that, again, land sovereignty and land access and land ownership and stewardship, however we want to look at it, responsibility to the land in all its forms, and the production that comes from engaging with the land is necessary, right, for us, for humans to live. It's no way around it. And there's very little land being created, and there is land being lost to climate change and all of those other things. And so one of the things that we really have to do is start to demystify agricultural jobs, agricultural enterprise for Black people. And it is because of the trauma of enslavement that many of us have moved away from what was a part of the very reason that our people were trafficked here.
Yeah, to work the land.
Right. But not only to work the land, the MENA people in what is now Sierra Leone were specifically targeted for enslavement because they were master rice cultivators. So we have to be clear. It's not that they just came, they didn't just come for the labor. They came for our intellectual property.
I got you. Nope, right. You're absolutely right. Nope.
So whether it was the MENA people, or whether it was the Akan people who they went after them because they were master metal workers. It was our minds and our bodies,
you're so right,
that they sought to capture and to extract from. But because of that, many of us have farming. We have been duped into being separated from the production of our food and the production of our clothing and all of the things that the basic, goes back to the basic needs. And so it is a time where we really have to reframe our minds. First things first. First things you need: water, food.
Yeah.
These are things that come from the land. Yeah. So as we are acculturating our children, teaching them about George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
Right? Teaching them about, why it is, that watermelon eating was turned into a pejorative, because they did not want us to be producing watermelons, because then we could hydrate ourselves and nourish ourselves in a particular way, right? And so we have to teach those lessons to our children very early so that they do not think that being a farmer is lowbrow.
I hear you.
Oh, I got to go get a degree. No, you don't. You might want to go become an electrician. You might want to go become a pipe bender. You might want to go learn how to raise horses. We in a city that has a horse culture.
You're right.
People had a good time. People go up Pimlico and have a good time without understanding that, horse racing and, all of those things, that those were Black, some of the first champion jockeys, until they segregated horse racing, were Black men. And who do you think was taking care of them horses up there to this day at Pimlico? Champion horses. That's our folks, right? That's our legacy. All of these things are connected again to the earth, animals, things that we have now dubbed white people shit.
Yep.
And so because of that, all of the jobs and all of the enterprises that are connected to those things, we are disconnected. We are disconnected from.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is to reconnect with our idea that, yes, we farm. Farming is sexy, because I bet you want to eat. keeping chickens is slick, because I better bet you like that fried chicken though.
And some eggs.
And some and some eggs. And truth be told, if we can't feed ourselves, we can't really have no resistance or no revolution.
Yeah,
we can't we can't, because you have to be able to feed yourself and you have to be able to feed your people. So being able to reconnect to that, and getting our young people, take our young people outside. All these state parks in Maryland, take your kids camping. They got little camper cabins right up there in Catonsville in the park. Take them kids outside. Take them kids outside. Close the computer. Take the laptop from them. Take them outside. Let them connect. Let them see the fireflies. Let them, so that they can determine, like, oh man, I might want to. I like looking at the stars. Maybe I want to be an astronomer. Oh, I like being in the water. I like being in the water. Maybe I want to be a marine biologist, or maybe I want to do some. I want to build dams. Yeah. Or whatever the case may be. But in order for us to reconnect with these things, in order for us to make a way for our young people, one, we have to be making sure they can make those connections for themselves. But then secondarily, we have to be in position, and we have to start moving and thinking a little bit differently about how we're doing things, right? And making sure that we have an estate plan, right? Making sure that we have life insurance, so that they can have a little start. I think, was it Master P? Started Cash Money with that $10,000 that Pop left him. Like,
right.
Just those things are ways in which we can start to cue things up, and then connecting young folks where we can with folks that are growing food. Right? Maybe they can go do their volunteer hours for school with the Farm Alliance, or maybe they can get a job with Black Yield. I think they still do like farmers markets and things like that. They can go there and get connected to doing those types of jobs. But that also means that we have to be advocating at the local and the state level for monies to be put into urban ag, right, and urban animal husbandry and conservation efforts in the city, so that our children have access to those organizations and institutions and businesses, so that they can get employment. But does Baltimore City Public Schools are they exploring animal husbandry in the school? Do they have a horse training program? Do they have a horse training curriculum in a city with a race in the Triple Crown? Like, it's almost ridiculous.
I hear you. No.
You know what I mean? That we aren't doing, that these things do not exist ubiquitously in this city. And it is important that we start advocating for these things as we go forward.
Nneka, one, as you were talking, you reminded me of, okay, when did I first meet Nneka? And it was when we were talking about civic hackers, how to leverage technology and to get more of our Black babies in this field, in a field where it is what it is, where you're looking at, we're not smart enough. Oh, that's white people shit. But when you actually make these connections, can you go deeper there? Because I always get excited when you actually point these, like, did you know that Black people did hit me?
So I'll say this.
Yes, ma'am.
For those of us who, again, like all of the things, there's quite literally nothing on this planet, like nothing. There's no technology, cultural, spiritual, computer. There's no building there's no technology for which our distant and not so distant ancestors were not at the forefront of. There just isn't. And so again, this goes back to knowing your family story, right? And being connected to how it is that from 1865, the end of chattel enslavement, to 1910, our ancestors amassed 15 million acres of property, mostly in the deeper South, because this right here is the South. Don't let Baltimore get you, or Maryland get you fooled. This is the South. The place where they had to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to keep Maryland from seceding from the Union and joining the Confederacy. So don't get confused about where we at. Taneytown is named after the man who issued the Dred Scott decision that said there was no rights that we had that a white person needed to respect. This is the South. But anyway, 15 million acres between 1865 and 1910. That is what folks who they said were less than human. That is what they did. They had sawmills. They had any kind of production, agricultural production, indigo product, anything. This is who we come from.
I understand.
From 1910 to today, we lost 13 million of those acres. Now, why did we lose 13 million acres? Not because we trifling, not because we lazy, not because of that. Because there was we have been under sustained political, economic, psychological, spiritual attack. At the same time, we have been trying to convince our attackers, right, that we are fully human. And I think that the thing that we must do now is stop. They will not be convinced. They making too much money with the social order the way it is. We must take every bit of energy that we have to create a shield around ourselves to protect us from the consequences of their choices. And that very much means that we we have to divorce ourselves from the notion that individual Black excellence or Black excellence, like becoming a billionaire or a millionaire or getting degrees, or none of that is going to get us those 13 million lost acres back. The only thing that is going to get us to a place where we can sustain ourselves off from the land and with each other is that we organize. We have to organize. And organize means getting together, coming together using our collective intellect, our collective money, all the money that we have, cooperative economics, in order to leverage the existing legal system, the existing political system, to protect our economic interests, to protect our physical interests. That is the thing that we must do. All this other stuff, we can forget it, because it does not matter. It does not matter how smart we are. It doesn't matter how much money we make. Every time they didn't put this young Black man as the head of Red Lobster, if he is successful, they're gonna take credit for being open to DEI. If he failed, they're gonna be like, see, He said DEI. So that cannot be our focus. Our focus really has to be on organizing ourselves around the 9 areas of human activity. I think, I'm one of those folks who feel like, our Divine Nine organizations, each one of them should probably take an area of human activity and create a strategic plan for the body about what we need to do in order to engage economically and organize politically around that area of human activity, right? These are the things we need to do. We already have the Black Church Food Security Network. We need those of us who are still in churches to gather together. Black churches are still the largest Black landowner of record in the country. Those churches should be growing food. They should be having, chicken they should be having ponds for the fish fry. Leveraging those, making sure that they're connecting with Black farmers, connecting with folks that are growing cotton and making sure that we then can develop some cotton, not just production, but processing, so that all these T-shirts that we run around with slick stuff on it, that we are buying finished T-shirts produced from cotton grown by Black people, like the whole line, the whole integration and stuff. Like, these are the things that we need to be organizing around, instead of, just saying, all right, we got to get out the vote. No, we don't just need it, because we're getting out the vote, but we have not platformed these candidates. We have not said, okay, this is what we want.
Yeah.
Like, we need money in order from you. You need to go get some money, a bond bill for us or whatever, so that we can create a cotton processing plant or a hemp processing plant in one of these vacant buildings in Baltimore. Pick one. We had a bunch of industrial and manufacturing spaces here that are not being used. We need a bond bill to bring those back into productive use, in cooperation with somebody on the Eastern Shore, or somebody who's doing this, that, growing this, that, or the third. So it's all these things we have to be engaged in organizing. And I would say that this is what our supposed leadership should be about, the business of doing, along with, everyday working people. Yeah, this is what we should be this is the business that we should be engaged in. It's not just about voter registration. It is about voter education. It is about political advocacy. And in order to do any of those three things in a substantive way that pushes us forward economically, socially, financially, socially, or even as families, you have to have that organizing element.
You have me thinking about, see, it's two parts. So I want to make sure that I'm clear, because what you've just done is you've given great ideas for people to actually implement. So when I think about the fact that we're not going to stop the development that's happening, I'm thinking specifically about Baltimore. And you've stated, Baltimore is one of the last free cities standing, right? So if we know that development is not going to stop, what should we be asking when developers roll up on the block that can help us form that defense that you're speaking of? Does that make sense? Like,
that makes sense. So yeah, we're not the ball is already rolling. So one of the key things we can do to secure Baltimore is going back to the estate planning. We have to make sure that we hold every family property that we possibly can. And that doesn't necessarily mean you don't sell it. It means that if you sell it, you don't sell it to the We Buy House people under market and get scammed out your money, right? You could sell it to a nonprofit developer. You could sell it to a mission-driven developer who was focused on regeneration and neighborhood regeneration.
Yeah.
but that we hold those properties, or that when we do sell them, we get the most out of them, and that the community that is going to be left behind, or the community gets the most out of what is going to be redeveloped in that space.
Yes.
So that's one. Two, we need to be making sure that our Department of Housing and Community Development and our planning department, there's a planning bill, going back to the housing bill, there's a planning bill that puts zoning under the planning department. So we need to be paying attention to what is the zoning, how zoning is working, how it is functioning, how is DCHD, Department of Housing and Community Development, how are they vetting the folks that are receiving city-owned properties, right? How are they making sure that they are giving properties or selling properties to entities that are going to be developed in alignment with the community's stated needs, and the community's stated wants to meet this community's stated goals. And by community, I don't mean just the loudest voices at the community meeting. I mean the people. I also mean the people squatting in their family's old house that was lost to tax sale. I mean them too. I mean the people who are going to be returning from prison for doing time for selling weed that's now legal. I mean them too, right? So we too need to be making sure that planning department and DCHD are working on development projects and with developers that are in alignment with what is needed to repair the harm done in our neighborhoods. Three, we really got to work on the narrative surrounding our hoods. We got to work on the narrative surrounding what they are, what they have been. In the same way that 40 years ago people were moving to the cities, or 60 years ago, moving to the cities, and it was like, oh, we're going to leave that country stuff down the country. Right? People move to the county and say, oh, we leaving that city stuff. City. Well, there wouldn't be no county. Baltimore, Carroll, Hartford, Howard, none of them. Wouldn't be none of that if not for this city. This is the economic generating engine for this entire, not just state, but this entire region.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need to be clear about our story, like what our neighborhoods have produced.
Yes.
They produced a world-class working port. They produced rail service, right? They connected the whole Baltimore, Ohio region, right? They produced a seafood culture, right?
Yeah.
From the oyster, all of these things were produced here. They produced a in the harbor place, and in the hospitality culture, snowballs and all of this stuff. This is cultural production, right? Turned into economic production. And we need to be clear that it is our hoods. Our hoods. If you extract what we bring to this city out of its fabric, it's threadbare.
Ooh. And
the reason that our neighborhoods look the way they do is the purposeful extraction. I literally, right before I got on with you, I got a text from somebody about a property that I own. They asked me if I was willing to sell it. The property is in Upton. And so I said, yeah, I'll sell it and the lot next door for $500,000.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
You want it? First of all, you reached out to me. You want it? It's going to cost you $500,000. And their response was like, oh, I talked to my partner. It feels like that's overpriced. Are you willing to negotiate? And I was like, well, would be the value of it, the low end, if not for racist housing policy. So it would be disrespectful to my ancestors, my elders, and my descendants to negotiate.
They got the right one.
We have to know.
But you got to know.
Because when you know, you can move differently. And knowing means you have to understand the narrative. You have to understand the narrative that has been created, and you get the shift. And this is, this is the work that you you are doing. We get to shift the narrative about our neighborhoods because it is the stories that we tell about ourselves.
It is.
It's the stories that people have told about us that contribute to the conditions that we live in. And if we're going to switch those conditions, we have to change the narrative. So when funders were telling Bree Jones of Parity Homes,
Yeah.
nobody want to live over there. That's interesting. It's more than 100 people on the waiting list for a Parity home. People absolutely want to live here. And by the way, guess what? People already live here.
Yes.
And guess what? They want to stay. And so we have to be in control of our own narrative. So we have to have our own media. We have to have our own media, right? Yeah. We have to be about the building of telling our stories, because in our stories, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Imagination, and this is something I heard from Mama Etiari at the Collective Give this year. She said, imagination is not assurance, it's experimentation. And the solutions may come or not, but imagination is key to our process of developing.
Yeah.
And all of that is connected to narrative and storytelling.
Yeah.
And so as much as we have to control the policy making, right? And as much as we have to control what we already own or what we are already stewarding, what we're already taking care of, we have to control our story. We have to control our narrative. And the only way to do that is to know who you are. And you know that by knowing where you came from, knowing your family story, knowing your community story. Because then they can't come tell you nothing about no 30,000. Let me give you $30,000 for that shit.
But see, that's what with Nneka, and for anyone who has shared space with you, and I also say this, about Dr. Martin, like I've worked with her for years. And I could remember whenever Dr. Martin walked into a room, there would be a shift because they knew it was no pulling the wool over the eyes. We're not going to bullshit. This ain't the one, right? But that comes with actually being empowered by this information. Like, my quote, until the lion learns to speak, every story will always glorify the hunter. Until the lion is able to point out the hunter came into my pride, killed and this is why you see my teeth, then the hunter is looked at as the one is the protector. I'm praying that when people listen to this, they are enticed to learn more, because I feel stronger in hearing it, right? I want to understand, and with this work, here it is, I'm extracting all of this knowledge from you. How do we financially invest? Because I understand the SOS Fund is celebrating your 5-year anniversary. What are ways that we can make sure that Nneka and all of those that she's supporting, that you're building, that we are financially putting some weight behind this, behind your work? Tell us, please.
So we are celebrating our 5th year, and so it's funny, we just did some rough calculations. We have deployed over $600,000 directly into community to clear property taxes, ground rent, water bills, to make sure that we're able to remove those vulnerabilities to home equity and neighborhood loss. And so that was a mix of everyday folks, making sure that their neighbors were taken care of, wealthy individuals, putting in a couple dollars, and funds from the local government via the state and the Fed. And so we're going to continue. We are continuing this work. And so for those who want to, pay it forward, or tithe, or do dash, as the West Africans say, whatever it is, on August 8th, is we are participating for the 5th year in Collect to Give. The SOS Fund is, and we are hoping to raise about $35,000 to help augment our. We have sunsetted our American Rescue Plan Act funds, and we are, replenishing our stabilization fund, and so folks can go to the Collect to Give page and look for the SOS Fund's logo or name. Yep. And on that day, we're asking folks to give what they can. We understand that right now, folks, things are tight. Yeah. And so whatever you can give, that we are happy to receive. And we are also happy to still be, engaging in community with folks. Everything isn't, all currency isn't money. So this conversation is an exchange, and you didn't extract anything from this conversation. This was a sharing, because that is a part of what we do. Like, we share, we exist in the sharing economy. And so you have shared your space. And this is the thing we've really got to be clear on. You've shared your space and your platform, and I shared information. This was an exchange. This was a fair and equitable exchange among sisters. Be clear.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, because there are those of us who are in our communities extracting and exploiting.
Receive.
And we have to be mindful, all our skin folk and kinfolk. And Black capitalism is still capitalism. It will not save us. Only organized, cooperative economics and collective work and responsibility will save us, and will push us forward. We gotta be clear about that. But again, we're happy. Before I diatribe, we are happy to receive donations, doing Collect to Give. If folks want to give before then, yes. Sometimes when people see it, they be like, I need to do it right now before I forget.
How do
You can go to our website, the SOSFund.com, and there is a button that says donate. You can donate to us at any time, and those funds will go toward our mutual aid, because this work is generative. This work is imaginative. We are imagining a world where we don't have to worry about blight, or we don't have to worry about exploitive policies. We don't have to worry about going to philanthropy to ask for money, because our mutual aid is so thorough and so strong that we are able to take care of ourselves. So, we're happy to take those donations today, or on the 8th, or at any time in the future.
Let me tell you something. August 8th, 35,000 is your goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. But I want to highlight how you were clear on how everything works to the good. If I'm able to give the 5, but if there is someone who's rolling in, you have these private investors, here it is, you've learned this information. You know it to be true based off of your own research, that you can plant a larger seed in donation in this. Right. So I don't see why you could not hit that goal on August 8th, if not before, because that is what the attention is.
Nneka, listen, it's enough. It's enough out here. It's nothing scarce.
It's abundance. You live in abundance.
That's right.
And you also make it clear to not be a martyr. We're not going to die in this work.
The time for the martyrs has long since passed. Please rest. I say this to you every time, because you be doing the most. You be doing the most. I know. I recognize doing the most, because I do the most.
Yes, you do.
I do the most. So please,
God bless you.
Just make sure rest. Rest is an act of resistance. You don't have to earn. Rest is not earned. Rest is a human right. It's a right of humans. It's a part of the process of being human.
Wait, before you go, can you talk? This is a segue. The NAP
ministry.
Yes, please. Can you share?
So myself and a sister friend of mine, social worker Amanda Morgan, we both read Nat Ministry, which is a book. I encourage everybody to read it. It is written about how rest is a not only a human right, but it is an act of resistance in a society that has was built in extracting our labor, right, and working us to death, and keeping us sick. In the current iteration, keeping us sick so that we aren't able to organize ourselves from a place of strength to resist the oppression that this society is. And so we are having a series of community naps for Black women. They are the fourth Saturday of the next 3 months, from 2 to 4 at the Harlem Theater. I will share the flyer with you. You can put it out along with this, and it's just an opportunity for Black women to come and do nothing, because there's a sister, I can't recall her name right now, who they said she literally worked 7 days in a row, or was working 7 days a week all the time, and caregiving for parents and maybe taking care of some children too. Yep. And she said something about she was tired and went and lay down, and they never got up at 40 some years old. That whole shit about sleep I'm gonna sleep when I dead, I rebuked. We gonna rest every day, all the ways that we can. I'm learning from good sister Laquita Chancey, who always tells me she is a lady of leisure.
Amen. Yes, we do.
She is my teacher. and I am learning from her and from others. And I just do encourage, all Black people, our children, our elders, our men, but in particular Black women, please, baby, rest. Yeah, because it's crucial. It's crucial out here.
All right, so y'all, before we take a nap, we do understand August 8th, we're raising $35,000. Before we take the nap, we're going to transfer the funds, get that over there, and we will rest well, correct? On that note, this is #my Bmore. What's the 410? Nneka, thank you for blessing us, and I will see you soon. Peace.
I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. Even if it means you gotta leave me, and you don't wanna be baby. Look, baby, I'm straight. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great.